All right, part two. All right. Cain rolled his eyes briefly, then continued the story. But I woke up during a part of the early morning when the sun was up, but not over the trees just yet. So there was this beautiful misty vapor visible around the ground, and it was still cold enough that I could see my breath. I ran to my parents' sleeping quarters, where it was now quiet in the main part of it. But when I got closer, I could tell they were both awake and their voices sounded happy, even though I could tell they were exhausted. And the closer I got to them, I could hear a third sound. A soft cooing sound that I had never heard before in my 2.5 years. But I would become very familiar with this sound as I met more and more of you. Several of us smiled around the circle. We had all heard Mom and Dad tell what it was like when they first heard a baby's voice, which was Cain's baby voice. But it didn't really occur to us that there was a first time for Cain to hear that sound. And it was my baby voice he heard. Kind of makes the bond between Cain and me even stronger and more meaningful than ever. Cain continued the story. I was like, Dad, Mom, what's going on? And Dad was all smiling, inviting me to come over to look. Mom was smiling at me too. She moved back a blanket that was covering her left shoulder, revealing a brownish pinkish ball, half of which was covered in soft, dark brown downy fuzz. Dad picked me up to let me get a closer look. I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking at, but the little fuzzball that Mom held seemed to be the odd creature making the foreign sounds. Everyone laughed at Cain's description of me as a little fuzzball or odd creature. Even I took it as a compliment. Cain playfully nudged my ankle with his foot. And Mom was like, Kayin, meet your newborn baby brother, Havel. I didn't know what to think as I peered into that pink, squishy newborn baby face. His eyes were closed, but he was nursing away and still making cooing sounds. That was the only way I could tell he was awake. He didn't even seem to acknowledge my existence. I almost wanted to tell him, hey, that's where I eat, scoot over. But we wouldn't be off to a very good start. Oh well, sometimes I would snuggle with Mom and him and nurse on the other side, even though I could eat and chew my own food by then. It was a good excuse to bond with Mom and sort of a way to get to know my baby brother. When did you first get to hold him? Collie asked. Cain chuckled. First, I think I asked if I could pet him. I didn't know what a baby brother was like. Was he like a puppy or a kitten? That little downy fuzzy head looked so soft and irresistible. He motioned over to me. Get over here, you little odd fuzzball creature, you. The others laughed as I crawled over to Cain. He was now sitting cross-legged on the ground in a brown woolen kilt like the one I wore at the time. I laid my head in his lap, closer to his left knee, to where my face was looking up at him. His left hand held mine and rested on my left shoulder. I also motioned for May to lie down next to me. She did so, pillowing her head against the right side of my bare chest. Every time she moved her head, her hair tickled my skin, but it felt nice. They also went swimming earlier, and they kind of got dressed part of the way. My right hand clasped with hers, resting across the right side of her belly as I held her in a hug. She was wearing a knee-length brown woolen skirt, and for now, she was in her scarf bra wrapped halter top style, leaving her middle section bared. This brought back memories of when we were much younger, when she liked to pretend she was a playful puppy, and she liked to roll on her back for a belly rub. Sometimes I was her doggy daddy, and she was my good girl puppy, and I would try to give her treats. Other times, we would both pretend we were puppies and try to play with Cain and Collie. Collie might play along and be our doggy mama. Since Cain was a little older, he wasn't always up for playing games with us, but sometimes he would smile or laugh or play along. After a brief eye roll, Cain does that a lot.